Hey, P, I don't know how tired you are, but I'm going to read through this letter. I'm going to read it kind of rapid fire. But
Let's
if you
do it.
happen to be super tired,
Let's
wanna do
do it.
okay, guys.
Let's do it.
So everyone got that? Everyone's seen that she's completely confident that the letter was misrepresented and that Netanyahu's lying. Why? Because Charlie said he's worried about free speech being outlawed in the United States of America. And she took that as it must have been, he must have been concerned about Netanyahu. And if Charlie wrote a letter to Benjamin Netanyahu, he obviously would have said, I'm super upset that you're trying to block freedom of speech in the United States of America. And that must have been in there. And Netanyahu didn't share that. He didn't share that part. What's that mean? He didn't share that part. It means he's lying.
So insane, man. She's so ridiculous.
It's absolutely insane. It's like,
She's
dude,
so ridiculous.
like people take, like, I'm serious. Like, you guys take her seriously after this? You guys take her seriously? She's freaking nuts. And it would be one thing if she just said, hey, here's my theory. I don't know. And I don't know. And I don't even know. But I want to explore this possibility. And I'd like to read the letter so I can see what it really says. That would be okay to me. But it's not. I know. And this is a fact. Freaking nuts, man. All right. Here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The real smoking gun against Candace Owens. Ever got this? From the desk of Charlie Kirk, everyone. All right, AP. I'll just kind of read this kind of rapid fire. Stop anytime you want to comment. I'll stop whenever I want to comment, but just say stop whenever you want to check, whenever you want to take a closer look at something. All right? All right, here we go.
Right. From
the desk of Charlie Kirk. Dear Mr. Prime Minister, one of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel. Still saying it, huh? Isn't that odd? Wow. That's exactly what Netanyahu said. One of my greatest joys as a Christian is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews in the fight to protect Judeo-Christian civilization. Shame on him. Most recently, I'm proud to have taken over Ambassador Huckabee's show on TBN, where we continually support Israel and the Jewish people. Wow, that's a very strange way of saying, I condemn you and I'm now hostile and I'm going against you. As Mohammedanism spreads into Western societies, it's critical that Jews and Christians stay united in the effort to contain and roll back radical Islam
wait,
law. What?
Wait.
You like that?
Why didn't I read this yet, man?
Dude, this is based.
He's awesome.
He's based here, and I mean, like, he gives them a roadmap. Check this out.
He's directly about Islam immediately within the first paragraph. Mm-hmm. Charlie Kirk was getting really based, man, this year.
Yeah. And it's weird because I saw in one of Candace's recent podcasts how it's Jews who are blaming Muslims and trying to get us focused on Muslims to distract us from what Jews are doing. And here you have, it's not what Charlie thought. So he says, as Mohammedanism spreads into Western societies, it's critical that Jews and Christians stay united in the effort to contain and roll back radical Islam and Sharia law. I regret to report that anti-Israel and anti-Semitic trends are at record levels on social media. Wow, you should be happy, according to Candace. These negative sentiments then flow downstream into college campuses and even seep into the conservative MAGA community. He's saying, hey, guys, all this stuff that you guys haven't been worried about and haven't been paying attention to, it's having really bad effects. My team and I have spent months analyzing these trends. Keep in mind, he's like, they're like trying their hardest to figure things out, to put together a plan to help. He says, my team and I have spent months analyzing these trends and debating ideas that could help you and your country push back against these disturbing developments. What? Candace thinks they're good developments. Why would you think they're disturbing? Anti-Israel sentiment can undermine American support for Israel. Wouldn't that be a good thing? That's what Tucker and Candace, they're all like, American support for Israel needs to be undermined. But that's what he's worried about. Huh. The purpose of this letter is to lay out our concerns and outline potential remedies. Everything written here is from a place of deep love for Israel and the Jewish people. I think it's important to be brutally honest with those you love. In my opinion, Israel is losing the information war and needs a communications intervention. This is hilarious because Candace was kept saying that Israel was having an intervention for Charlie Kirk to let him know that he was not allowed to question or criticize them, and that if he continued questioning and criticizing them, then they would either like bankrupt him and take away all the money, which according to people they were not getting a bunch of money from Jews at all, and or they would just kill him, depending on which conspiracy theory you want, or both, I guess. I started to compose this. What's up?
I just want to point out here, to very briefly for everyone to appreciate. So Charlie could have done one of two things, right? He could have just paid attention or to the fact that support for Israel is decreasing because Israel is losing the information war, and he could have simply jumped on that trend. He doesn't need Jewish donors. He doesn't need Israeli donors. He could have just moved on to something else. What he did, however, is to actually sit down and write a long, elaborate letter to the Prime Minister of Israel in order to tackle this, because that's how much he cared about it. So this is how much Charlie Kirk cared about Israel and how much Charlie Kirk cared about Jews and about Judeo-Christian values and so on. So shame on those people who disgustingly want to come and misrepresent him now that he's dead.
Yeah, this is him putting a lot of thought and having a team and saying, we're trying to help you here. Because there are people saying messed up stuff about you online. You're not responding to it. You need to be responding to it, and we want to help you. Anyway, I started to compose this letter to you on Easter. I should have been focused on my family, but I was getting bombarded with messages about the Israeli army making it difficult for Christians to access church in Jerusalem on Easter. At the time, I did not see any official statements pushing back on this narrative. In other words, people are saying something and you don't respond. It was frustrating because pro-Israel surrogates like me should not be in charge of fact-checking every piece of anti-Israel misinformation that pours into social media. It wasn't just Easter. On my recent campus tour, half the questions I get are about Israel, and they're all negative. I often spend half my time on these campus tours defending Jews and Israel, which I'm proud to do because I love Israel and love the Jewish faith. I spent endless hours with Dennis Prager over the years studying the Torah. Sometimes it feels like I'm defending Israel in public more than your own government. This is him declaring war on Netanyahu. Netanyahu didn't admit it, but this is him declaring war on Netanyahu.
This is why people love Charlie, you know?
Yep. My experience on college campuses matches a recent Harvard-Harris poll, which reported 48% of 18 to 24-year-old Americans support Hamas over Israel. Even in young MAGA circles, Israel is losing support. We're getting huge crowds of 4,000 to 5,000 students on some of my college tours. My campus visits are becoming like a rock concert atmosphere filled with conservative patriots. Yet, on these campus visits, I'm constantly confronted with Israel's an apartheid state. Why does Israel conduct ethnic cleansing? Why is America subsidizing Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people? Is American aid helping to subsidize Israel's free health care? Israel and the Jews are running U.S. foreign policy. Israel and Jews are responsible for 9/11. Defending a lot of these claims are exactly what Candace says. In fact, which of these claims is not a Candace claim? Israel and Jews are responsible for 9/11. Defending Israel is not in our U.S. national interest. Why is Israel trying to drag us into a war in the Middle East? You could have put that list together from Candace and Tucker fans, and not even anyone else. You didn't even need to go anywhere else. Above are just a sampling of the negative Israel Jewish comments and questions I confront on college campuses. I'm accused of being a paid apologist for Israel when I defend her. However, if I don't defend Israel strongly enough, I'm accused of being anti-Semitic.
So look at this. The things that he says people bring up and that he defends Israel against, and that he thinks Israel should be defending itself against instead are actually things that people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens say. Candace Owens yet wants to come here and act like Charlie was basically joining her
saying those
ranks. And
things, right?
yeah,
She thought in the real letter, she thought the real Charlie Kirk letter was basically, hey, I've defended Israel in the past, I did my best, but now I've finally realized, start at this list again, Israel's an apartheid state and you're conducting ethnic cleansing and and America's subsidizing Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people and American aid is helping to subsidize Israel's free healthcare. That's what she thought. And she was completely confident of that view because Charlie warned that we shouldn't make criticism of Israel illegal in the United States. And that must have been a threat from Netanyahu. And he must have been reacting to that. And therefore, he must have been blasting away at Netanyahu. He is blasting in here, but it's, how are you guys not responding to the online lunatics? And guess what? That would be Candace Owens. Her and Tucker are like the main ones.
You know what's awesome though? So, you explained how when you were in Israel, you wrote down things that you wanted to tell the people in Israel,
Yep.
To get their stuff together and to be better at the information war. And Charlie sat down and did that.
Yep.
That is quite interesting.
Yeah, no, check this out. Like I told you, like I wrote it when I was mad, and it's in this middle paragraph right here at the end. This should be a 5-alarm fire. That was my attitude. It's like, this is huge, guys, and you guys are just everything's fine. Yeah, people hate us, but that's okay. There are always people who hate us, and we're like, this is emergency level, and you're not reacting at all. Anyway, I'll start at the top of that paragraph there. Above are just a sampling of the negative Israel Jewish comments and questions I confront on college campuses. I'm accused of being a paid apologist for Israel when I defend her. However, if I don't defend Israel strongly enough, I'm accused of being anti-Semitic. I know you've got a 7-front war, and my kvetching pales in comparison. I said kvetching, this proves that this was written by Jews. But I'm trying to convey to you that Israel is losing support even in conservative circles. This should be a 5-alarm fire. I'm often asked, why is Israel killing so many innocent civilians in Gaza? I know Israel goes to great lengths by dropping flyers and even calling civilians to clear out of areas about to be bombed. I know Israel posts maps showing which areas should be evacuated. I know that Hamas uses civilians as human shields. But 90% of the younger generations get their news from social media, like Candace Owens, and podcasts, like Candace Owens, and there is very little pushback or fact-checking by the Israeli government and or pro-Israel supporters in the media, especially social media. I strongly suggest Israel not always depend on subcontracting their information war efforts to surrogates in America. Don't leave it up to other people. Mr. Prime Minister, I urge you to revamp your information warfare strategy from top to bottom. I would say the exact same thing. Sometimes the impression is given that Israel thinks everyone hates them. This is what I got. This is what I got there. Look at this. Sometimes the impression is given that Israel thinks everyone hates them, so why care about winning over hearts and minds?
That's actually what people said to me in Israel as well.
Yep.
They openly said that. I mean, people
they still say that.
Anyway.
They still say that to me when I'm like, well, they're like, well, should we do this? And I'm like, no, don't do that. And they're like, but people hate us anyway. I'm like, they're going to hate you more. No, the people who hate us are already going to hate us. Guys, if the percentage of people who hate you is going up, that's not just the same people who hate you. That's people who didn't hate you who are starting to hate you. Let me read that again. Sometimes the impression is given that Israel thinks everyone hates them, so why care about winning over hearts and minds? If there's any truth to this impression, I urge you to consider that social media and podcasts is where you fight for the hearts and minds of the younger generation. Obviously, all this negative Israel propaganda on social media easily translates into pro-Hamas, free Palestine sentiment on many college campuses. And here we go. Here's his plan. Here are some unsolicited recommendations my team and I suggest if you're open-minded to a communications reset. For starters, you need a rapid response media team. President Trump does... What's up?
You know what's awesome about Charlie? The confidence that he has, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's awesome. This is perfect, man. This is a perfect letter.
Very admirable.
Yep. For starters, you need a rapid response media team. President Trump does this very effectively on social media with his own account and his White House Rapid Response 47 team. The president has strong fighters like Stephen Miller and Carolyn Levitt who battle the press every day. Honestly, I don't even know if you have a press secretary. Dang, that's brutal. I don't even know if you have a press secretary. You're an eloquent defender of Israel. Yes, he is. But you need a team of information warriors out there pushing back every day in real time. When you don't push back, anti-Semitism and anti-Israel propaganda fill the void. A pro-Israel friend recently asked me, do Israelis even care how the world perceives their country? 2, I strongly recommend putting together a team of pro-Israel experts who can fact-check misinformation in real time from Israel. Israel needs to take the lead in this effort. No more dependence on subcontractors. Israel never asks for American troops because Israel does its own fighting. I suggest the same approach for the information war. You lead, and people like me will follow and provide supplemental support. If you're open to revamping your communications strategy, my team and I are happy to assist. If you don't know how to do any of this, we'll help you. We'll train you how to do it.
That's awesome, man.
Oh, it gets awesomer.
I really hope Israel takes this advice properly.
He was. That's why Netanyahu met with like people about TikTok and stuff like this, which is exactly what Charlie tells him. And then Candace condemns Netanyahu for doing exactly what Charlie told him he needs to do. Crazy. 3, you need something perhaps like an Israel Truth Network, ITN, which can include social media channels and a one-stop source of information website where, for example, all the negative Israel questions I get can be thoroughly debunked. I would love to refer students to such a website. This website could also be a conduit to groups like Hillel and Jewish educators like Dennis Prager. There can be links to books, podcasts, media personalities, and pro-Israel thought leaders. The website can be...
You know what's funny?
What's up?
I thought about doing something like this myself on a smaller scale in the past.
Yep.
So...
And you think everyone's like, oh, the Israel's these masterminds controlling the entire world. They can't figure out how to make a website responding to the most common accusations. Really? Yeah. These are the masterminds, everyone. These are the masterminds controlling the entire world. They can't make a website to answer the most common stuff. Anyway. The website can be a place where Judeo-Christian leaders and groups can share information and form closer alliances in the fight against Islamic fundamentalism. ITN social media can post pro-Israel and pro-Judeo-Christian video clips, breaking news, and articles. ITN could potentially be a news aggregation site for all news pertaining to Israel and Judeo-Christian efforts to preserve Western civilization. I just want to remind everyone, Candace Owens was 100% convinced, she was sure, because she knew it for a fact, based on her detective skills, that this was this was a letter attacking Benjamin Netanyahu and condemning Israel. And saying that he's switching sides and he can no longer continue to support Israel because they're so evil. That's what she told millions of people this letter was. What's up?
If I meet Benjamin Netanyahu, I will tell him that he has to form ITN.
Yep. And you even need to call it ITN. And
yes.
Then when Candace Owens complains, going, wait. Yep. 4, have you considered inviting some of the released hostages? This is smart. Have you considered inviting some of the released hostages to go on a speaking tour in the U.S.? This could be very effective messaging. These hostages can talk about how Gazan civilians not once offered any empathy or compassion. President Trump referenced this lack of humanity when some released hostages visited the Oval Office. This was effective messaging. When impactful messaging clicks, keep it going. Also, these hostages and all your spokespersons should be arguing it's Hamas that is committing genocide on their own people by using civilians as human shields and storing weapons in schools, hospitals, etc. That information drips out in the regular media, but is almost non-existent on social media. So yeah, yes. We hear them. We hear Netanyahu saying it. We hear it here and there. It should be all over the place, and it's not. Why? 5, maybe interview regular This is your idea, AP. Isn't it interesting? Maybe interview regular Israelis on the streets, asking them what they love about their country. Interview Jews, Israeli Arabs, Druze, Orthodox, secular, etc. Ask Israelis, what do they wish the world knew about Israel? Ask them to respond to examples of misinformation on social media. This could be an entire social media PR campaign called Dude, You Got Us Wrong. Interview Israelis from all walks of life. Is there anything this guy's saying that is not completely, utterly, totally right on point? Let Israelis explain in their own words how Israel is a pluralistic society, a free country with elected leaders, unlike all of the surrounding authoritarian Arab nations. Why not show how your hospitals take care of wounded terrorists? Why not show clips of Israel dropping flyers from airplanes warning Gazan civilians to get out of harm's way? It would have been nice to see an Israeli plane with a Star of David arrive in the U.S. full of supplies after a hurricane. Has Israel offered any assistance to the U.S. insofar as technology to protect our border or with the missile defense shield President Trump has discussed? That's an interesting point, because you have the conservatives really focused on border security. Israel, they're the experts in border security. You say, well, you had October 7th and so on. Yeah, you had enough people. You had enough people focused on getting around it, but overall works really, really well. It's rare. That's the point. It's rare for people to get through their border security. It's not like the U.S. where people get through it all the time. But anyway, and guess what? Israel will, when someone actually gets through, they revamp and then they fix the problem. So they would actually be good. They're the world's leaders on border security. These are examples of effective messaging showing Israel as a close ally of America. Consumers of social media are aware of the billions in supplies we send to Israel, but they're less aware of what America gets in return.
Yes.
Yep.
Why isn't this being amplified? It's because it relies on older people and older information and technology that doesn't reach younger people. The vast majority of people, I mean, you will see it in the chat whenever we talk about it. Like, why are we giving billions of dollars to Israel? And the thing is, many of these people, when they ask this question, genuinely do not know why we are allegedly giving billions of dollars to Israel, because they don't know what we are actually giving to Israel. They don't know what we are receiving in return from Israel. They don't know what Israel is actually giving to the United States. They also do not know that Israel is deeply involved in sharing technology actually with the United States, which the United States needs and depends on in many security fields and so on. So these are things that you and I can sit down and research and understand and explain, but that the vast majority of people who know about this conflict do not know, and I also don't see anybody actually explaining it. Like when I explain this to somebody, I feel like I'm giving an original explanation because I don't see anybody else actually explaining it. Why don't they care?
Yeah, and I saw one additional thing. I forget where I saw this. I should have screenshotted or something like that. But it was someone in government intelligence, and they said the amount of intelligence. I don't mean how smart you are, guys. I mean information about things that are going on in the world and things you need to guard against. The amount of intelligence that the Israeli government gives to the U.S., if they wanted to replace that, I think they said they would need 10 CIAs. They'd be like, the amount of information that Israel gathers and then gives you guys, you would need 10 CIAs to get this information if you didn't have Israel feeding it to you. Let's see. Consumers of social media are aware of the billions in supplies we send to Israel, but they're less aware of what America gets in return. You and your team need to make the argument on social media that Israel is a great friend of America and is vital to U.S. national security. Israel needs to better portray itself as a member of Team Humanity. Israel needs to establish a baseline of her identity. To run an effective messaging campaign, you need a clearly defined message. This message should be homegrown from Israel. In other words, create original content from Israel. Videos and visuals feed social media. Keep these edited clips short, under 1 minute, and post the best ones on the Israel Truth Network. Don't rely on non-Israeli social media influencers to create all these clips. Create them yourselves, and influencers, surrogates like me, can promote this original work and refer people to your social media and websites. Be proactive. Take the lead. Bottom line is Israel needs to learn to fish, i.e. create your own content and be more self-reliant when it comes to your communication strategy. 6. Iran. Israel could do a better job explaining the Iranian threat. Among the many conservatives who support Israel, there is a concern that America could become entangled in a quagmire in Iran. I can think of a couple people who were heavily warning that. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. My generation grew up with disasters in Afghanistan and Iraq. This is where he's explaining like the psychology of this stuff, right? Like we're aware of stupid wars that don't go anywhere. We're worried about doing something like that again. So you need to be aware of that. My generation grew up with disasters in Afghanistan and Iraq. We were promised there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which proved to be a lie. Our generation was also lied to by the governments of Israel and the U.S. that COVID vaccines were safe and effective. Israel intelligence missed the boat on October 7th, but we're asked to trust Israeli intelligence 100% that Iran is on the cusp of obtaining nuclear weapons. In other words, hey, you guys dropped the ball over there. Why would you think we're going to trust you? Why do you think young people are going to trust you? Young conservatives are notice how he's like brutally honest?
Yes.
Young conservatives are very skeptical of government proclamations. We don't fully trust intelligence assessments. Right now, it seems like Israel is primarily relying on Americans to make the case for attacking Iranian nuclear sites. These arguments get a lot of blowback in MAGA circles. Other than you, Mr. Prime Minister, I see very few Israelis making their case in the media, social media, or podcasts. Many agree with you, myself included, that Iran should not get nuclear weapons. At the same time, I share the concern that America will get sucked into another endless war, costing thousands of American lives. Where are the Israelis who are arguing their case to win over public opinion? Israel should be making its case 24/7 on social media, including long-form English-speaking podcasts and social media channels and websites such as Rapid Response Team and ITN. He's giving them like solid gold here, man. 7. A paradigm shift is needed in how Israel presents itself to the world, especially on social media. Perhaps the best way to convey my thoughts here is to think of Israel as a political candidate. This is brilliant right here. This is brilliant, guys. This is why Charlie was so effective at what he did. Perhaps the best way to convey my thoughts here is to think of Israel as a political candidate, in this case, a younger woman who grew up on social media. Who is this candidate and what does she stand for? Right now, there's essentially a massive negative ad campaign spreading on social media. These negative ads are defining this candidate. In other words, if all people see are negative ads about your candidate, that all they know is negative things, and that's what they think. That's what defines the candidate in their mind. These negative ads are defining this candidate. Political campaigns face this challenge all the time. Many of the PR challenges Israel faces should be looked at through the prism of a political campaign. Like any campaign, the first task is to define the candidate. Right now, there is not a one-stop shopping resource where younger people can learn about this candidate. Every candidate has a website and social media. It would be political malpractice to omit these tools. Sorry for the brutal honesty, but Israel's approach to social media is PR malpractice. Your candidate should list all the toughest questions she gets on the campaign trail with detailed expert responses, add footnotes, on her ITN website and use social media to explain her platform on a daily basis. These responses become part of Miss Israel's platform where her positions are valued and explained. Like any political campaign, you need surrogates who can articulately promote this candidate's platform and identity. Right now, Israel's identity is being fabricated by those who hate her by a barrage of misinformation in the media, especially social media. Fake news is an important warning. Fake news becomes real news if there's not effective pushback. When a candidate is hit with negative campaign ads, the effective response is for the candidate to personally respond to these attack ads. A candidate doesn't just rely on surrogates to get the truth out. One of Israel's biggest, most fundamental problems is typically your pushback is in a third-person voice. I do the third-person voice all the time as I attempt to defend the candidate, Israel. but I don't live in Israel, so I'm more like an attorney defending a client. Israel, the client, also needs to defend itself. I
Ah,
wish,
so we should move to Israel then.
yep,
That's the end.
that's the plan. I wish I had a first person source of information I could reference where students and Israel skeptics could learn more about this client called Israel. You need a one stop shopping resource where Israel's platform and beliefs can be spelled out. You need more Israeli surrogates speaking out on behalf of their candidate. At the moment, you have some wonderful non Israeli surrogates speaking on behalf of a candidate that has not defined herself, especially when it comes to social media. I know it's common to think that social media, especially TikTok, is a waste of time. Here's the TikTok, and this is why Netanyahu met with people about TikTok. What did he say? I know it's common to think that social media, especially TikTok, is a waste of time. I thought similar a year ago, but TikTok algorithms have changed. I've increased my followers on TikTok from approximately 1 million to 6.6 million in the last year. We need to get on TikTok, man. We get billions with a B views on TikTok. My campus tour last fall and this spring have received approximately 5 billion impressions. Elon Musk is a good friend to Israel, so X offers a great opportunity to make inroads on social media.
Hey, this is what you mentioned during that meeting. This is what Netanyahu mentioned during the meeting.
Oh yeah.
Elon Musk is a friend of Israel. You know, we could use his help as well. So
Shame on him for listening to Charlie Kirk. Israel should not sit back and allow its enemies to define her. A recent Pew Research poll showed 53% of Americans now have an unfavorable view of Israel, up from 42% 3 years ago. U.S. support for Israel is precarious right now. A new media strategy is urgently needed. I understand social media as well as anyone in the world. Yep, he does. From my vantage point, Israel has retreated from social media without a fight. How are you going to win over younger generations if you're starting out in retreat on social media? Younger generations use their TVs for Netflix, not the evening news. They don't watch the news if you're on the news. Narratives for younger and even middle-aged people are fought now on social media. Mr. Prime Minister, stop this retreat. Get in the information war fight. The front lines of this information war are on social media. Other than a few guerrilla warfare operations, there's very little Israel-created content. I saw that Israel has increased its Hezbollah budget by 20 times, which is great news. There's also hundreds of millions of dollars raised by private pro-Israel groups. Some of this money should be directed into creating pro-Israel original homegrown content. Next, promote this content on Israel-operated social media channels and websites. Use some of these funds to start the Israel Truth Network. To sum up, you should perhaps consider reshaping your Hezbollah department into more of a political campaign headquarters with campaign narrative experts. Hezbollah could be the mothership hosting ITN, where the messaging campaign can be created and then distributed to all the pro-Israel groups and thought leaders. Majority of staff in these efforts should be in their 20s and 30s. The older generation alone is not going to win the information war on social media. You need to fill the ranks with young people who grew up with cell phones and social media, not payphones and TV news. Once the candidate is defined with a platform backfilled with extensive details, then allow the political operatives to take that platform out into social media with an out-of-the-box approach like some of the earlier suggestions. I have seen your IDF spokesman defend Israel standing at a dimly lit podium. This looks like a scene out of the 1970s, like some old Walter Cronkite clips of the TV news. You need to tear down your old ways of communicating and start over from scratch. Create a communications and social media platform that is wired to fight back with the same fierceness and determination as the IDF.
it's very funny that some people actually started coming out and saying, "No, this is not the real letter. This is the fake letter. They made it up." Dude, he's criticizing the heck out of the way Israel is handling things, and basically, it sounds very patronizing, you know, but it sounds incredibly patronizing, but it's done in good spirit because he genuinely cared about Israel and genuinely wanted the public perception of Israel to change once again for the better, as it was.
Yeah.
So it would be very strange for Israel or for anyone else to make up this whole letter. This is This is Charlie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I mean, just saying, oh, this is clearly made up. One, this sounds exactly, it sounds exactly right on the money. If you put it this way, if Candace is saying no, they're covering up the truth, they're covering up the truth about what that really said, then you would have made up a completely different letter, not blasting Israel like this. You would have said, hey, I just want you to know I always love you and no one should ever question anything you do, Bibi Netanyahu. You're perfect. You're all perfect.
Always love you.
Now let's listen to a Kanye song together.
Yeah.
Israel has many Americans and some well-known foreigners who defend Israel, which is great. But these are third-person voices. Mr. Prime Minister, you are an eloquent defender of Israel, but you don't post very often on social media. Many of our clips are in Hebrew only. Why don't you do more press conferences in Israel in English? Take on some of the tough questions I get bombarded with on college campuses. Where are all the Israeli surrogates? I can't remember the last time I saw an Israeli spokesperson on one of the evening Fox shows other than yourself. Israel needs more first-person voices to defend her. How can Israel defend and define itself if you don't even have spokespersons out there fighting back every day? Do you have a press secretary like Carolyn Levitt or defenders like Stephen Miller? If not, I encourage you to go find them. You need more Israeli spokespersons who are effective speakers in the media and on social media. I know you also have a serious state lawfare challenge. My team and I have been fighting the deep state every single day for many years. Maybe a revamped information war strategy can help with your internal fights as well. Israel has enormous capabilities, such as how you orchestrated your beeper bomb operations. Like, you guys are geniuses in certain way, like obvious, like top of the, like best on the planet. Do not screw with these guys if you're planning on a terrorist attack. These are the best on the planet. And yet on social media, you're like the worst on the planet. What is going on? So he says, Israel has enormous capabilities, such as how you orchestrated your beeper bomb operation. Perhaps Israel can use some of that same ingenuity to more effectively fight the information war in the media, especially on social media. Israel is the Silicon Valley of the Middle East. Israel has an abundance of brain power and technological expertise. The question is whether Israel has the willpower to step up its game in this information war. From my vantage point, the status quo is not working. Israel is getting crushed on social media, and you are losing younger generations of Americans, even among MAGA conservatives. In my opinion, you are losing the information war, which will eventually translate into less political and military support from America. The Holy Land is so important to my life, and it pains me to see support for Israel slip away. Feel free to contact me on my private number below if you would like to discuss this further. So, sincerely, Charlie Kirk, and then they cover up his phone number. But think, he gave Netanyahu his personal phone number, sent it to him in a letter. Netanyahu called him back, said, why don't you come over here so we can discuss these things? And Candace Owens sees a big conspiracy of Netanyahu to end Charlie Kirk, wipe him out, because Charlie Kirk, we just saw it, was turning against Israel.
He actually offered to go and help Israel out, man. And Netanyahu actually took him up on that. And she's sitting there and lying about him.
And she's the good guy, according to her and her stupid fans.
Like Israel or not, agree with Charlie Kirk or with Israel or not. It doesn't matter where you are. It's quite obvious what's going on here. It's quite obvious where Charlie Kirk stood and where Candace Owens claims he stood, and how she's a complete liar about all of this.
It's pretty insane. I'm going to see if I can find my message. This is from a long time ago. Oh, hang on. Nope. I did find it because I don't use WhatsApp a lot. Okay. Here's what I wrote. It's way shorter. It's way shorter than what Charlie wrote. I have not read it since I sent it. So I just remember I was really ticked off. I'm sitting there going, should I send this? Should I send this? Here's what I wrote to people.
Did you send it in the end?
I did send it. It was basically everyone who was in any position of the media or anything going on over there everyone's like, hey, what's your WhatsApp and stuff like this, so we connect and stuff like that. I was enraged, and you could tell Charlie's like ticked off. Like, this is not as hard as, like, it's not even hard. It's a lot of work, but how are you not getting this, right? That was my view. Anyway, so here's what I wrote. I said, and guys, so this is almost 2 years ago. This is February, the beginning of last year. I said, I don't like to give this assessment, but based on what I've seen for the past several months and on what I've seen here in Israel since last week, I think Israel is absolutely doomed in the court of public opinion. The strangest part to me is that it doesn't have to be this way at all. Everyone on the Israel side seems to focus on two issues. One, we were attacked, and two, they have our hostages. These are definitely important issues. But because they're the most important issues to you, you keep ignoring issues that are more important to people around the world. Israel is getting relentlessly hammered on social media on roughly half a dozen issues. I'm convinced that you could win the arguments on all of these issues. But whenever anyone brings up how you can actually win the arguments on these other issues, there doesn't seem to be the slightest interest. It's just keep reminding people about the hostages. Again, the October 7th attacks and the hostages are extremely important. But if, while you're reminding people of the attacks and the hostages, you sit back and allow your nation to be smeared as evil occupiers perpetuating genocide against freedom fighters and as horrible oppressors of Muslims and Christians, even in Israel, parentheses, I get roughly 50 to 100 messages every day saying that Christians can't even walk down the street in Israel without Jews spitting on them. The world is going to increasingly view attacks against Israel as completely justified. Again, I think you could win all of the arguments. There's just no interest in dealing with the issues that are most relevant to outsiders, and the outsiders are the biggest part of public opinion. That's what I said after I tried to tone it down. But I was pissed. Notice it's kind of like the same vibe. It's like, what are you doing, guys?
That is base, man.
It's pretty base, man. And you know what the response was? Everyone responded, and they're all like, "Oh, thank you for the input." Again, they were all guys. I sent that. Everyone was completely nice. Everyone is completely nice. That's why I didn't want to like blast them, but I was really ticked off. It's like, how we're sitting there. I'm sitting there telling you how easy it would be to respond to some of this stuff. Well,
that's really absurd, man, but it's funny.
I know. Crazy, isn't it?
That's really absurd, but funny.
Oh, boy.